Hi everyone, it's Susan here with Slanted Designs, and today I'm coming to you with a quick little knitting tutorial to do with the Picot cast on. So I have a few little samples here to show you. Basically you can modify any existing pattern you have, like a sweater or whatever, where you start with just your regular cast on, whether it goes into ribbing like this one does, or if you're just going into straight stockinette stitch like this one does. You can add a decorative trim. And when you think about it, like if you have a cuff on a sleeve or the hem, it just adds a little bit of extra oomph to it. And this is what it looks like. I just did a little smaller needle, smaller weight yarn. It gives it a little more definition. Still nice and stretchy, doesn't affect anything like that. So it's really good for hems and sleeve cuffs. And you could even so much as do it on a collar if you wanted to. But that would be mostly for if it was like a top-down collar. So it's super quick, super easy. Let me show you. It can feel a little awkward at first. I just grabbed, I think these are 3.75 circular needles. You can use flat needles or straight needles or whatever you're using to work with your project. Make your slip knot and put it on your needle. Now, for this type of cast on, I use the backwards loop method, which basically some refer to it as a backwards E. I just backwards loop because basically you're just going to take your yarn, make a loop, and it'll look like that before you tighten it up. See what I mean? So it looks like a backwards E. So backwards loop, and you're going to put 5 on, and that includes your slip knot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then take your other needle. Make sure you kind of, for the first little bit, it can feel a little awkward because you're going, for those of us who are right-handed, you're kind of working backwards, but you're going to go in and pass these 4 stitches one at a time over the last one you had cast on, and that's going to make your first picot. So it can be a little awkward at first because everything wants to slide off, but once you get going, it's a little better. So I tend to hold on to this tail so that my existing one doesn't slide off. Trying to stay in frame here while I'm working. And I'm trying to go a little slower so that you can see. And sometimes that backwards loop cast on can be a little snug, so just kind of wiggle things around a little bit until you get going. All right. So now we're back to having 1 loop on our hook, on our needle. So then we're going to we are going to use the backwards loop method again, but we're going to put 6 on this time, and I'll explain why in a second. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So again, you're going to take your needle. Make sure you kind of hold on to that tail when you go to pass your stitch over. And we're going to start moving these 4 stitches. So you're still only ever going to pass over 4 stitches. We're going to move those 4 stitches up and over the last one we cast on. This yarn may not have been the best for this. It's kind of splitty. So there's 1. And 2, 3, and 4. So what ends up happening is we only did 5 and then pass the stitch over 4 times. Then we did 6 because we want one in between each of the picots to kind of give it that separation. So then what we would do is we would repeat, and we would put 6 more on. 1, 2, that's split. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you go back in with your needle and move and pass the 4 stitches up and over the last cast on. And see, as you get going and you get more done, it becomes a little easier to maneuver the stitches. So there we have our first picot with a stitch in between, second picot, stitch in between, picot. So then you would keep casting on 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you would pass a stitch over. I gotta hold on to that tail so it doesn't slide. So that was 1. 2. 3. And 4. So there's our, so now we have a picot stitch, picot stitch, picot stitch, picot. Now you would go, like if you had to say your cuff was like 64 stitches that you were supposed to cast on, just keep track. 2, 4, 6, 7. What you're going to end up doing though is you're always going to have one more at the end, because what you want to have happen, especially if you're knitting the round, if this was where you were stopping and it was going to be in the round, you would have picot stitch, picot stitch, picot stitch, picot stitch, picot stitch. You need that extra one at the end so that you're not going to have 2 picots together side by side, if that makes sense. So then once you would have your number of cast on stitches you want, you would then continue to work either in your stockinette or your stockinette stitch or your ribbing, whether it be 1 by 1, 1 by 2, or 2 by 2, whatever your pattern calls for. All right, so just something simple, just a quick little picot cast on helps make it a little more decorative, and it's actually quite pretty when it's all done. All right, so if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, or again, every Thursday night around 8 o'clock Atlantic, I'll be live and you can pop in and ask a question there if you want. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please feel free to do so. There's lots of other videos there to help you along with other projects, and I look forward to seeing the next video. Don't forget to hype and like. It really does help the channel and get it out there to other people who may benefit from something like this. All right, so that's just our quick little video for today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care. Bye.